All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the April 15th meeting of the Savannah-Chatham County Public School Systems Capital Improvements Committee. We are calling everyone to order. First item on our agenda, approval of the December 4, 2024 minutes. Ms. Hall moves, Ms. Grabowski seconds. All in favor? All opposed? In honor of Mr. Moss, any abstentions? Okay, just check it. Oh, wait, that's my role. Next item on the agenda, approval of today's agenda. Ms. Hall moves, Ms. Campbell seconds. All in favor? All opposed? That passes as well. And with that, East Blost revenues and budget, I think, are the first item. Is there someone here from finance? Excellent. Hiding in the back. You know we call on the people in the back, right?
Ruth will advance it for you. Just say next slide.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our first slide is revenue and tax collections. So we need to move forward.
Could you introduce yourselves to
Oh,
everybody,
I'm
please?
sorry. Connie Clark, Director of Accounting
Excellent.
in the Finance Department.
Thank you.
Here we go. Okay, so our first slide is East Blost tax revenue collections. So East Blost 2, we received $335 million, 60 months out of 60 months received. East Blost 3, we received $425.3 million with 60 of 60 received. And then East Blost 4, $399 million, 399.6, and February of 25 was 38 months of 60 months received. Okay, our next slide is the monthly tax revenue collections for East Blost 4 by calendar year. This slide shows calendar year 22 to date through March 31st, 2025. So in calendar year 2024, we received an average per month of $10.81 million, and this is sales tax and interest. And then so far, the average for 2025 would be $9.85 million.
I guess next CIC meeting, if we could have a update on when we're going to cease E4 collections and then start E5 collections, that would
Okay.
be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next slide is the revenue summary. This is for East Blost 2. So East Blost 2, we are in the process of closing East Blost 2. The projects are closed. We are right now expending the last little bit of interest on East Blost 2. So that current recognized amount through March 31st is $411 million, or $411.3 million.
Dumb question, but the $1,200 variance, how do we account for that?
So that was when we were closing out East Blost 2, because we moved all of the East Blost 2 money. We used all of the funds, and it was a half a month. So that's a half a month's of interest, worth of interest. So we will expend that, and then we'll
Zero it
close
out.
that account. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, East Blost 3, the total revenues, this is, as I described earlier, East Blost 3 revenue summary by category. The total that we received or recognized for East Blost 3 as of March 31st is $459.6 million. You'll see that variance is where we need to do a budget amendment to increase the budget for interest income. Okay. The next slide is the East Blost 4 revenue summary. As we have on here, we've received as of March 31st, $425.7 million. And as you can see, the variances are as we continue to collect the revenue, those variances go down. We do have a interest income variance that we would need to do a budget amendment because we budgeted had a current budget of 19 million, but we've actually recognized 25 million.
The capital outlay, Bill here, are we expecting to collect that 3.3 million?
I'll have to check on that. As far as I know, yes, but I will get back with you on that. The original budget was 2.5, and then it was increased to 4. And we've recognized, and we actually had a capital outlay deposit in April, and I'm thinking it was around 1.2 million. I can get back with you on that, so.
Okay.
Okay, the next few slides are a reconciliation of East Bloss 2 funds from unallocated funds. So this describes how the balance is increased or decreased by budget transfers in and out of unallocated. So for East Bloss 2, because we're closing that one out, that total, if we get down here to the bottom, is 0. So we have expended and moved budget out of the unallocated for East Bloss 2. Okay, and the next slide is for unallocated funds for East Bloss 3. So we have the budget amendments increasing and decreasing the unallocated budget all the way down to a current balance of $3.8 million for unallocated.
That's all it's all encumbered though, right? We've identified,
I believe Capital Projects has identified the use of these
Expenditures.
funds. Yes,
Sonny's like, yeah, we have.
not encumbered on the books, but encumbered in the spending plan.
Right. Okay.
Okay, the next
Not
couple
all
of
of it.
slides
We've seen
are
pieces of it.
showing the East Bloss 2.
Sorry, Ms. Hall, use your microphone.
Oh, yes. In terms, Mr. Batra, of unencumbered funds, if we become aware of an emergency situation on one of our sites, can we then advance that to the superintendent and to get on that unencumbered list? Or is it
Yes, ma'am.
finite the way you have it now?
Yes, ma'am.
You should always advance any type of we will figure out how to resolve it. But I think those funds are allocated out to projects. You all just have not seen the list. But if there are emergencies, we will always prioritize how we resolve those.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we also have to make sure that the project was on the original East Bloss referendum. But absolutely, if you have an emergency, we
Oh,
will.
that's what I'm saying. If it was not, and it's an emergency, not on the original.
If it was not on the referendum, if it falls into one of those kind of broad categories that we had, like roof, HVAC, security, then we potentially could utilize if we have any remaining funds. But either if it's not in East Bloss, if it's an emergency, we will find another funding source to resolve that
I
emergency.
see. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our next few slides are going to show the various East Bloss by budget and cost by category. So you can see that we're like I said, we're in the process of closing down East Bloss 2. So this is showing the total cost for expended through March, and then what was expended the previous month for a column that shows what was expended for the current month. And that is for East Bloss 2, 3, and 4. Okay, the next couple of slides are going to show you, these are expenses and budget by category. The next few slides are going to show you, this is expended only, and it is by project, so you can see what was spent each month. So the first column is the balance in at the end of March. The next column is expended balance at the end of February, and the difference shows you what was expended in the month of March. So $1 rounding, where we're trying to close out that.
Connie, give us just a second. We've advanced too fast.
Oh,
We're on
okay.
45 up, we gotta go back to 29.
Oh, okay.
Oop. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this slide 29 is East Splosh 2. Again, East Splosh 2. So this shows you basically what was spent during the month of March. And then it is also the same for East Splosh 3. So you can actually look at this table and see what was done in March, what was paid out in March. For all of the funds. Any questions so far? Okay,
So, just for the public's knowledge, we try to be over transparent with all of our financials. All of this data will be on our district website under Capital Improvements Committee. We have minutes from every capital improvements meeting going back several years, including all the financial data. It's up there. Board, we received all this financial data several days ago as well. I don't think we need to go through every
Okay.
item in specificity, but does anyone have any specific questions on any of the financial data we've received? Dr. Brennan?
Yeah, on a while back, you don't need to click back, but the E4 revenue versus the E4 budget, what have we paused? What have we punted? However y'all want to name it. I was skimming through and I couldn't see where we've moved things and what we've decided to not do because, of course, everything got more expensive.
So Mr. Batra is gonna cover that a little, in just a few
Thank you.
minutes.
okay, so the rest of these are showing, the last few slides are I'm going the wrong way. Sorry about that, guys. Making my presentation longer. So the last few slides are a comprehensive summary. This shows the project, it shows the location, so it shows the school budget, original budget, current budget, and expenses and available budget. And then the last couple of slides here are going to show you a cash flow for the capital plan cash flow for.
Who's driving the PowerPoint?
I'm sorry. I know, I'm going. I'm sorry. I'm on 58.
Okay, so now we're on cash flow.
Yes. So cash flow by East Splosh. So this is East Splosh 3. And East Splosh 4 cash flow.
Next slide.
And that's it.
Okay.
Okay?
Any questions for Ms. Clark? So next meeting, let's have a E5 kind of timeline and E4 sunset on collections, just kind of an update on that, please.
Okay, okay.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. All right, next item on the agenda is policy update on board policy FG, projects administration, and specifically our local LMWBE policy. Who is presenting on that? Mr. Deacle.
Thank you, Mr. Katchmar. If we could please have the exhibit 200-321 pulled up, please. Last fall, in the ordinary course of business and in preparation for East Splosh 5, our office did a comprehensive review of the district's capital projects procurement policy, FG, and that family of related policies. The majority of the changes are, in my view, stylistic to more clearly track the express language of Georgia's Public Works Procurement Law, OCGA 36911, and its subsequent provisions, and to more clearly communicate for the benefit of new staff and the public the division of responsibilities between the Purchasing Department and the Capital Projects Department in the handling of our capital projects solicitations and the use of the district's new e-procurement portal, Bonfire. In the course of that more general review, in October, we recommended that the school district also revise policy FG to expressly incorporate the language of an October 1st, 2024 amendment to a federal regulation 2 CFR 200-321, which is a federal regulation that outlines steps that a federal grant recipient, such as the school district, should take when contracting with small businesses, minority businesses, women's business enterprises, veteran-owned businesses, and labor surplus area firms. That code section recommends 6 things that a local government can do to lower barriers to entry for all small businesses, regardless of the race or their ownership. While these 6 item practices are all race neutral, they have been recognized as proven ways to help remove barriers that have been historically encountered by small businesses owned by minorities and women. Subsection B of this federal regulation, which as of today remains in full force and effect with no negative citing references or changes, provides such consideration means, 1, these business types are included on solicitation lists. 2, these business types are solicited whenever they are deemed eligible as potential sources. 3, dividing procurement transactions into separate procurements to permit maximum participation by these business types. 4, establishing delivery schedules, for example, the percentage of an order to be delivered by a given date of each month that encourage participation by these business types. 5, utilizing organizations such as the Small Business Administration and the Minority Business Development Agency of the Department of Commerce. And 6, requiring a contractor under a federal award to apply this section to subcontracts. If we could pull the next reference, which is the red line to policy FG, please. The school district's existing policy, likely informed by a prior version of 2 CFR 200-321, has a substantially similar list of these activities. But we recommended in October, and we still recommend that it would be best to track the specific language of this regulation to avoid any possible issues that might arise if someone in the Georgia Department of Education or the Federal Department of Education is reviewing a district purchasing solicitation or contract looking to see the specific language from this regulation. The additional revisions to policy FG that we suggest since the more recent guidance that has been released by the federal government since January include an express anti-discrimination statement in our capital projects purchasing policy and a rewording of our prior policy to clarify that the use of the race-neutral practices recommended by 2 CFR 200-321, which we've already been using, to reduce barriers to all small businesses, including minority and women-owned businesses, are designed, and the new language that we suggest is to promote equal opportunity for all business partners to engage and to help ensure that all parties have an equal opportunity to participate at all levels in the procurement process for public works construction projects and maintenance projects. We also, in addition to citing the specific provisions of this code section, would like to we emphasize, which has always been the case since I've been reviewing the district's purchasing solicitations and before, that projects are awarded to, quote, responsive and responsible bidders who meet the requirements of specific solicitations, such as the lowest price in a hard bid or the most advantageous proposal, considering a combination of price and quality. And awards are not made on the offeror's status as an LMWBE. We've got some of that language up there. So with that, any specific questions from that overview?
Yeah. Mr. Moss?
So you are very comfortable that with these changes, we're safe?
From the guidance that we've received today, it's a constantly changing environment right now, but this was a recently amended federal regulation after the Harvard case. It remains good law and has not been overturned. And the list of 6 items that it identifies are practices that courts have in the past upheld as being race-neutral ways to lower barriers to participation. Participating in a government procurement process can be very expensive and technical. Our solicitations ask for a lot of information. They're over 20 pages long. There's lengthy forms. So a lot of these things are educational opportunities to make sure everybody, even if it's a small business that doesn't have a dedicated employee like a larger company might have, to help navigate these types of government solicitations, have access to opportunities to learn about the process and engage in a meaningful way. And our purchasing department has already done that and continues to do so.
Ms. Hall?
Dr. Watts, are you comfortable with any forms and documents that you have to sign on our behalf?
So the word comfort is an interesting one. I will say that I'm not comfortable with signing them, but I do understand the implications for not signing them.
Anyone else? Ms. Campbell?
What do you mean by facially neutral?
So facially neutral means that the policy says on its face nothing about race or gender or any of those things. In our non-discrimination statement, we do suggesting that we seek to make sure that our facially neutral policies don't have a disparate impact on somebody's ability to participate. An example could be a business has to have 10 years experience before they can participate in the government procurement process. Well, that might be harder for a new startup. That's facially neutral requirement, but does the impact disproportionately fall on small businesses because they're new, they're startups, they have to wait that long before they can participate in a government procurement process. So that's what that language is to show that that's something we're committed against doing, and these policies are designed to help avoid a situation where we have a disparate impact on any particular group.
Anyone else? Mr. Moss?
So I like to be super careful. We're dealing with taxpayers' money. I just want us to be assured that we have thought of every scenario. We've thought of anyone coming and making an accusation against us, that we are violating any of these. I just want to make sure that we have. Go ahead.
So I appreciate the caution. The new conditions that we are being given and that I have to sign certification around are much broader than this. And we are, as a district, looking at all of our policies and all of our practices that could potentially be in violation of anything, because there are consequences if we are found to be out of alignment. However, I will say that much of the communication that we have received has been extremely vague. And, we are trying to interpret things that could potentially be a violation, but we are not 100% sure that that is the intent of the law. And we do not want to overcorrect in any of these scenarios. Yesterday, I read a document that came from a legal firm, and it gave a list of potential things that this federal legislation and these executive orders could be applying to. They refer to infinity groups. They refer to, I don't know, Dennison, help me with some of the other things that it refers to.
Yeah, there's a laundry list. Each list comes out differently, but yeah, an affinity group is one of the categories they put on that list, but I could refer back to it. But yeah, there's a lot more, but right now we're focused on this particular procurement policy. I think that's important before we expand the scope. And I think the standpoint of the procurement piece, and as the law stands, we've looked at it very carefully. As Mr. Deacle has said, we believe it aligns with Harvard, it aligns with the White House's interpretation of Harvard, aligns with certain laws, current laws that are on the books that were passed after the Harvard case and remain there. So we believe we are compliant with this policy. Before the 22nd, we need to go through that process of looking at other things. But like Dr. Watts said, there's so many. Let's take care of this one right here. Those other pieces, that's a process for us until the 22nd. And we're going to continue to get more guidance from the federal government, I guess, as to what is particularly focused on. It's difficult to determine what that is, and people have different opinions in terms of other applications. But in terms of this application, we feel good that we are compliant.
I do feel good about this policy, but do I feel good that we have done a complete audit of everything in the district that could have application? I'm not there yet, but we will be there by the 22nd.
And President Moss, I might add, the district is rolling out its new bonfire electronic e-portal system, and in the context of that, we have done a comprehensive review of the purchasing documents in anticipation of this new policy and those kinds of things. So it's not just at the high level. We've been already working boots on the ground for documents that are going out on behalf of the district to make sure they're in compliance with the regulation and the policy that we propose.
3 questions. One, are we going to have a board meeting before the 22nd to vote on policy changes? 2, I can read Brinkman's mind. 2, this is a policy. The nuts and bolts are in regulation that actually spell out how this is enforced, or is there going to be a related regulation amendment?
There will be a related regulation amendment to FG. That regulation did not previously include any special details on the LMWBE portion. It does have details about, compliance with the construction bidding laws, but it's not in the existing regulation, and we're not planning to make any additional kind of sub-level regulations or things related to this portion of the policy.
Okay, and then third, I understand the alterations based on gender and race, but is local also in that?
Living in there.
I get local can have a disparate impact, but it seems fundamentally different from the other protected characteristics.
So the 6 items listed will benefit local businesses. We have a catch-all as to local businesses only, that we may take other lawful means to promote engagement with local businesses, and we would just be careful in these steps in implementing that it's not perceived in a way of running afoul of any of the other provisions. But in the draft proposal, and I don't have the ability to scroll, highlight it there, but I think if we roll the screen up a little bit, I'm sorry, back on page 7.
Here you go.
Yes,
Right there.
right there. After the list, the block quote from 321, we have the language, the district may also use other lawful means to attempt to improve participation by locally owned businesses.
Ms. Grabowski.
I did have a question about the language about local. I do hope that we will double down in our efforts for local businesses to ensure that they are aware, and at some point would be really interested, now that we are changing over to the bonfire system, how that will work with our local businesses and receiving notifications, if we're going to do any kind of training or anything on that?
Yeah, yes, the purchasing department has already been diligent in providing notification to existing vendor lists about the change, the bonfire, has materials available, tutorials about using the new process. And Bonfire itself has tools to help expand the reach to vendors that it has in its database based on certain job codes. So the hope is not only will that help us manage the back-end processing of solicitations in a digital way, but also to expand the net of potential vendors to get more information out there about opportunities.
And and the city and the county, of course, have robust local vendor lists as well, so I hope we'll cross-reference with those. But in particular, in the language of the policy, it might need to be more specific, because the way that it's phrased currently as the meaning of local of Chatham County or adjacent counties with established regional development partnerships, including Bryan, Effick, and Bullock counties, the language of established regional development partnerships, to me, is somewhat ambiguous. And someone from Atlanta could say, I have a regional partnership with Savannah. So it seems to me that we need to tighten that language, or maybe it's in the regulation somewhere, to specify what we mean by local.
That, I think, we will look back at that particular reading that you suggest, but the reference is intended was to refer to counties, not specific businesses, but just meaning that those neighboring counties are ones that are sort of typically, businesses in those counties are typically ones that we work with in Chatham County. But we can look back at that language before it comes up for your first read.
I think it'd be helpful to be very specific about what we call local.
Yeah, the purpose of the MSA language, which was added the last time we revised, was so that we
Was
would
a definition.
capture broader area than just the city of Savannah or even Chatham County, recognizing that we did business around this, southeast area. So we do need to look at that.
I would like to get some examples of much more specific, because we did widen, and we thought naming with specificity the counties would be,
But it says,
Step in that direction.
including, which by its definition does not exclude counties from, Bibb County could say,
Liberty,
it doesn't,
And
it's not specific as to what is considered local. It includes those counties, but it doesn't exclude counties that we may not think of as local.
and
Got it.
I'm a lawyer. What's an established regional development
And that's,
partnership?
exactly.
I should have gotten the bonus points because I did business with the county,
Yes.
with the district 17
Yes.
years ago. So that's established,
Or I'm on a state regional economic development entity, or, I mean, I could think of a gazillion
Yeah.
examples where somebody could make that connection, that I am part of your regional, like, I'm affiliated with the Hyundai Meta plant, which is located in Bryan County, which is on your list.
I got
So
it.
we need to be much more
I'm in Rome,
specific.
Georgia, but I serviced the district through a statewide purchasing contract. Therefore, I have,
I got it. Thank you.
Point made.
I got it.
But
No, I think I have it.
this is really important, because
it is.
this is the tool that we have to be able to help our local businesses, regardless of all of the other things.
Yep.
And if we don't work to achieve that, then, and it's also better for us as a district, right? We know that money spent locally has an exponentially higher return than external dollars, so it makes good business sense for us and for our vendors.
Can
And
we
I did have
just-
one other question, sorry, I'll get off that soapbox. This policy also references, which one is it? Our other purchasing policy of DJE. Does that policy need updates as well?
That policy was recently updated in the last year or two. It does not have a specific LMWBE provision. And So don't know that it needs to be specifically updated for that purpose, and a lot of the other changes that we were making to FG were in consideration of those revisions that we made not too long ago in DJE. So I generally think that's current, but if, as we go back through our revisions in FG, think there's some additional changes in DJE that can always be brought back.
Can we look at the local in that policy as well to make sure we have consistency across our purchasing policies?
So yeah, I don't think that is a specific
This might be the only
topic addressed in DJE
should
one
be.
way or the other.
I mean, don't we have a local preference for
In-
like other things?
It's this,
But we don't have it in our general purchasing?
not in the competitive bidding itself. We can look at it. I
I
mean,
think we should look at it.
redundant maybe. Ms. Campbell and then Dr. Bringman.
So if we're concerned about going forward, if this is going to be enough, et cetera, might I make a suggestion that's kind of bold? You can say no. But why wouldn't we add something like the district will annually publish contract awards by project with detailing bidder qualifications to be transparent with the community?
All of our purchasing awards, once they are made, become public. So that information can be obtained from the purchasing department. Awards that have to come before this board are approved in
So
public
they're
minutes.
public facing already without request?
Many of them are, if they've been approved by the whole board, and others may be on the list. There may not be everyone.
I just know in the past, we were confused sometimes about whether the LMWBE policy was being followed based on what the stipulations were with how people were selected, and there was some doubt. So it just makes me wonder how much transparency is there. So you're saying we can see all of this as it stands now and going forward with this new policy language?
Yeah, my understanding is that once the awarded,
Okay.
and it's no longer in the confidential evaluation process, it becomes a public record. Many of them are posted because the award is posted. That may not be everything, but they would be available through Public Records Act request and upon request to the board.
And when a contract comes up for approval at the board level, we're told, here's the RFP number, here's who bid, here's who made the short list, here's who superintendent's recommending for bid approval, and then there's a vote, and so the minutes reflect who. The details of the applications and the scoring are not in that policy provision.
I guess that's what I'm referring to more is like how, go ahead.
I was just going to say that information, who bid, who was on the short list, who's being recommended, is typically in the policy head or the agenda item header and descriptor and the resolution that we then vote on, and who gets awarded the contract based on our vote is in our minutes as well, along with the resolution. But
But the scoring isn't,
The
right?
party submissions and the scoring is not.
I guess that's what I'm asking for. Is
That-
there a way to?
The purchasing department can furnish that information to the board.
I'm not for it or against it. I think.
It's a
you
big
would need to-
ask.
you
I
would
just
need to
think for
ask
transparency.
What would that entail? And what can we disclose and what can't we disclose? Because there's a cone of silence that's in place before there's a board vote, and then some provisions are confidential because of trade secret information, some are not. I think we just need to ask legal what can and can we not post, that's all.
And I'd also note that the process, which is for these things which are competitive, they're publicly advertised, it has a process for vendors to ask questions, to raise concerns, assert protests. And so if any individual felt that they were experiencing an issue, that could be raised and would be advanced. And I think there've been comparatively few of those, and I, off the top of my head, can't think of one specifically in this particular area. They've usually been about other things, about like the qualifications of the competitor or something like that, that are not related to any of these characteristics of ownership.
If somebody could make a note to get with Ms. Campbell and this committee on what can we just proactively make available? Okay. Dr. Brinkman, did you have something?
Yeah, after Kaczmar and Grabowski's pontificating on page 7, could we just delete that sentence? Or its adjacent counties with established regional development partnerships and just including, and just have it say Chatham County, Bryan, Effingham, and Bullock counties? Like, that solves that problem if those are the counties that the district deems local by geographical boundaries? And just get rid of all that middle stuff that y'all didn't like the operational definition of establish and regional development?
I go back to what problem were we fixing with using the MSA? Because that's worked for years.
We simply wanted to expand to just make it more competitive, so just expanding the footprint.
I think that makes it smaller. Our MSA includes across the river, it includes Liberty, I mean, it could.
My understanding from our research, the committee, is that it really only included 2 counties.
The MSA?
When we looked up MSA, team, help me.
Okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to whatever, but I do think more specificity is
Right.
needed.
This,
So,
in my opinion, and again, there are other people who were on the committee, so if my recollection is incorrect, this extended the footprint.
That is correct, Madam
Okay.
Superintendent. The intent was to extend the footprint. Bullock County, for example, was not an MSA, so we were trying, but we'll go back and heed the advice and clean it up, make it very easy.
Now, and then, not for this iteration of change, but I feel like we might need to have a conversation around physical place, because I would hate to disadvantage a local startup in 2025 when most people are not trying to have brick and mortar, to not be local. So you have the student that's graduated from our high school, went off to college, became an architect, is coming back here, but knows that it is a complete waste of money for them to have brick and mortar to do their business. They want to do business with us, and they can, but they're not going to be considered local because they haven't decided to pay an egregious amount of money for an office. So don't need to change it now, but I think that's a bigger conversation about where we are now in 2025 and needing. I understand why we wanted people to do it to some degree, but there's a lot of people running their companies now wonderfully without brick and mortar. So that's just another question. We don't need to pontificate right now. And then do we need to vote on this because that wasn't answered? And if so, we only have a week, and I think don't we have to post that we're voting on a policy with a week notice or something, correct?
I think the plan was to bring it before the board at the May.
But
for
that
first
doesn't get
read.
us the April 22nd
May 2nd,
compliance. Compliance to me means that it's policy.
In the signature, I'm acknowledging awareness. I
Okay.
believe the effort that we are making is in line with the policy. It would not need to be official by the 22nd, but we have proof that we are making strides towards.
And,
I believe you then, that's all.
and I would take the position that we've been doing these race-neutral methods beforehand, and that we would argue that the current policy is sufficient, but that these are additional revisions and clarifications to avoid any doubt.
Ms. Grabowski?
I know Dr. Brinkman was saying not really something to talk about now with the brick and mortar, but since I think it is important that we look at who is physically located in our community locally for our capital projects, access to the project site, knowledge of our local conditions, knowledge of our local soils, and also, if we're looking at the business side of it, the people who work at those companies are also spending money in our local economy. whereas if they're working remotely, there's not that benefit too. So, and I hear you, we can have that conversation more, but I do think, given the nature of our capital projects, that local experience that comes with also having that local office, and having witnessed firsthand firms that call themselves local that had an office literally across the hall from mine, and I never saw the architect, that's not what we want. So just want to make sure that we're aware that that happens too.
I mean, to their points, we're overhauling this policy now. We might as well include that important discussion. And it could be as simple as, evidence of engaging in economic activity in the area. For example, by maintaining an office or paying a business license or buying equipment or engaging with vendors, whatever. We can be a little more creative to establish local, but still address the brick and mortar issue.
And as a matter of practice, our purchasing department does vet the information provided, and I believe I'm correctly remembering from Ms. Scales that there have been times where they have visited addresses provided to ensure that they are a legitimate office. And then to Dr. Brinkman's point about remote work, you may.
I think we're missing the point. It's not remote work. I could be a lawn care company that runs 20 trucks that gets one of our bids that's well over $100,000, and there's no reason for me to have a brick and mortar. I need 4 panels of fencing and barbed wire to park my trucks and my equipment, and everybody shows up there in the morning, they know where they need to go. That doesn't mean they have a physical place of business, because there is no mailbox there. That's a lot. So I'm talking about the person that understands they don't need an office, a physical place of business to run a multi-million-dollar business. And they all could live in Savannah. I'm not saying I want somebody from Illinois doing the architecture. I'm saying we can hamstring a local startup by saying they have to have a physical place. And that's a couple $1,000s a month in rent. The AC goes out, it's on you because it's a commercial loan, a lease. I mean, it's just predatory to have a physical place. That's me. I'm just one. I understand the intent of trying to say that those people have a footprint here, but you could have a massive, massive footprint as a business and not have a physical place, an admin that's answering the phone. Like, those companies are out there, and the people in the audience are shaking their heads. So I know I'm barking up the right tree. Yeah, I think that's what you do. So I mean, that's why I didn't want to pontificate on it now, because I know we're going to have 9 different opinions.
But you could keep 2 and 3, and then 1, take out the word physical, and just change it to regularly engaging in business in the geographic boundaries of. And so you're talking about actual economic activity in here without requiring you have a physical space.
I accept that.
Well, yeah, we're brainstorming. Let's think about it holistically and put some thought into it.
And as a practical matter, when registering as a Georgia corporation, it may list its principal office of business in Georgia. They may not have a public front, but I expect even in the case of the situation you've provided, they have a registered office address with the Secretary of State, which would deem to be their office.
Yeah, sometimes that's their lawyer's office.
Or their home.
Or CT Corp.
Or their home. I mean, that's my wife's office that's registered to our address. So is that what this means, a physical place of business? I don't know.
Okay, we've made the point. Let's think about it. Any other comments on these proposed changes? All right, let's move on. It's 2:50. Thank you, Mr. Deacle. Project updates, Mr. Huttinga.
Okay, I'm starting on slide 67.
Thank you.
And we're looking at the DEH building. There's 2 projects left to complete on this, the CTAE building and the Fieldhouse Athletic Complex. CTA building is, rough ends are completing, they'll soon be in finishes. We'll have that ready to go in July. And also the athletic facility, the field's getting ready to get put down. Buildings are in finishes. The track will be put in later this summer. And that facility also will be ready for fall football coming up this year. And with the completion of these two, the DEH educational facility will be 100% complete. Next, Windsor Forest High School. Had a couple of new schools that we're obviously following very closely and are a lot of work to get completed and ready for school in July. Windsor Forest first. Of course, we talked a lot about this, where the building is located right now, the new building behind the old building. Again, very similar to what we saw at Jenkins. This building is basically in finishes. And once this building is completed, we're going to be moving the students over from the old building, and the old building gets demolished, and then that gets turned into the parking and the site work. One thing that came up just recently, and you dealt with the change order last week, for additional abatement, and it's also causing an increase in the schedule. But just wanted to be sure that everybody is aware that that does not change the completion as far as of the new building is concerned. So yes, the new building will be ready. Yes, the students will go into the new building for the start of school in August. But normally you would do abatement in a building, and then you would knock it down, and then you would haul it away. What was found is there is a mastic waterproofing that was on the backup block behind the brick. And it causes additional work as far as demolition, because you can't come in and abate that because it's adhered to the masonry block. So what the contractor is going to need to do is first take out all of the debris that they can safely haul away, and what you'll have left is just basically all the masonry walls with this asbestos mastic on it that will need to get demolished and then obviously safely taken away. So that whole process is just going to extend this demolition process out. So we're going to look at that building right up to probably the end of the year by the time they got it hauled away, and then they can construct the new parking lots. So this year is going to be a little disruptive on that site yet, because we still have to provide for parking. And so we'll keep that temporary parking lot out in the front, take the old building down, put the parking lots in, move the parking around so that they can continue to stay parking on campus. But it's looking like about March of next year before everything is pretty much 100% there.
Mr. Moss?
So when did we discover this?
It was discovered just, I think about a couple months ago or so, and then they did some testing in order to find it. It's not normally what an abatement would include. You know, they go through, and we do asbestos testing in the building before the demolition, but this is hidden, and it's nothing that you can physically see or, you know, observe. Okay. And I think what happened, and I see Ryan Price out there, I believe they ran into this at another project, and they didn't acknowledge it, of course, until they actually started demolishing those walls and found that type of asbestos in that mastic. And that caused that project, obviously, to be delayed. So it's a little foresight on their part, saying, hey, why don't we take a look behind this face brick and take a look at that? Because they not only found it behind the face brick, but they found it under the concrete slab at the at the old gymnasium. And so, yeah, there's some hidden abatement in there that's going to cause some additional work, but
Dr. Bringman?
Does that mean there will be no salvageable external brick for a brick ceremony?
I trust they will be able to salvage brick because this material is on the block.
Okay, so we got brick, space, stuff that will make me sick, cinder block.
And then block, right, yes.
Says the doctor.
I mean, hey, I could have gone with other words.
Yeah.
We are
Yes.
saving the bricks.
That's
even if we
great.
have to wash it. And it is actually the fireproofing material where we found this asbestos.
Moving forward,
Yes.
can we make sure that all of our builders know that the construction of our buildings in the 60s,
Have that.
that those people may have done some crazy stuff, so when we go to figure out a bid, they might want to remove a couple bricks, peek in there and actually see if that's there, so we know it's part of the actual, yes?
Exactly.
Because I'm
Exactly.
guessing, I'm just going to go out on a limb, Windsor Forest Elementary's probably got the exact same stuff going on.
Of course, in fact, every renovation project, I've already started the process that we will start looking for these things.
Yeah.
It's a great lesson learned for us.
Yeah, asbestos was used for a lot of things. And some of them, and now we're starting to pay the price for it, but I can remember putting that material on a lot of schools.
The good thing is Ryan built this into his bid already, so we've got all this covered. His head just exploded back there.
Yeah, he says, yeah, I got my change order last week, so
Exactly.
I'm happy, yeah. All right, so, but again, the good news is it's not stopping actually having that facility ready for school, but it's gonna be quite a lot of effort to make the rest of it all happen. The next one is Bloomingdale, pretty much in the same condition as what Windsor Forest is, mostly finishes. If you go in those buildings, there's a lot of protection on walls, on floors, all over the place. So it doesn't look as finished as what it is because we're protecting all of these finishes. So it's made taking that off, getting things polished up, cleaned up. A lot of site work to do out there, and so we're tracking that very, very closely. Also, the next slide shows again an approval that was made last week for the Dr. Ronald Wayne Bland Gymnasium, and that's all in progress as far as getting all the signage at that entryway in order to have that completed. Next one, J.G. Smith renovations. And again, J.G. Smith means Montgomery also. Lots and lots and lots of work going on at Montgomery right now to get that school ready for J.G. Smith. They're already making plans starting next month to start moving over from J.G. Smith into Montgomery. You approved the GMP on this project last week, and so everything is moving along very well with that. Next one, Georgetown.
Grabowski?
Sorry, on J.G. Smith, I know we had the meeting with the community a couple months ago or so. Have we had additional follow-up or working with the principal? Have they identified any, I mean, I'm assuming we're on good communication paths and have had additional correspondence with those families since that meeting?
Yeah, there's been a lot of communication with the principal. We have not had a meeting since that last
Right.
one.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a good idea, and we were going to wait until we got the plan that Belfort Beatty could put together, their plan, their sequencing, and then have a meeting with the community, because there's a lot of site work that has to happen, and there will be disruption around there. So we will talk to Beatty and get that meeting set up.
The meeting is already scheduled for next week.
All right.
He was on vacation.
See, I was on
Can you
vacation
tell me the
last
date
week.
of
I
that
missed
meeting?
everything.
Oh, what, ma'am?
What is the date of that meeting? And this is with the community?
Yes, it is with the neighboring neighbors.
An
I think they've all received-
invitation would be appreciated.
Yes, definitely.
Is there, I saw the proposed courtyard. Is there really a proposal for a koi pond there? There is a pond there already? Okay,
And it was really important to
keep it. Got it.
Yep. All right, so we can get that date.
Didn't know if that was real or aspirational.
Yeah, so we'll get that date out. At Georgetown, again, when we say Georgetown, 2 schools, again, Largo Tibet, which is now in preparation again for the Georgetown students to get moved over there after school is over. And the Georgetown project itself is in the final stages of design. We're expecting the GMP in the next month or 2, and then we can get started with that project. Also, again, we get them moved out, and we're going to put a new gymnasium in and a new roof, big metal roof. So that's obviously going to be disruptive and will require that there be nobody on site, big part of the project. The next one, the Alternative Learning Center, we looked at this one at the last meeting that we had also. If you look at that light tan on the left side, that's going to be the Building Bridges High School. The darker red or pink is the Building Bridges Middle School area. The Wings is in the blue. And the e-learning is in the green area. This project is in final design right now, so obviously there might be some things that will change. This is kind of a conceptual look at the building and what would need to be done in order to create those spaces. But we do want to get this project designed out, bid, and get it started. We have a target of the end of '26 to have this ready to go. The Early Learning Center at Henderson Formey is in final cleanup. And we've been showing pictures of this for the past few months. We got another one here as far as looking at the cafeteria. Very, very exciting how this project, this school has turned out. I think you're going to really be pleased when you get in there and can take a look at when we do the ribbon cutting. Hubert, another project that we've been working through design on and also that we want to get into bid now as quickly as what we can. We've been really dealing with some site issues. Of course, the site is small. We looked at that before and still trying to figure the best way to get that where we can get all of the elements that are needed for a middle school on that site. But the interior work itself is all in final design, so we're looking to have that project ready to bid later this summer. And then the next one is working at the Transportation Maintenance Building at Gamble Road. We did an EV bus station there, opened that up last year, and now it's time to look at that entire complex. We talked before about the bathrooms, the horrible shape that they're in. We want to get new facilities for the bus drivers, new offices, and then you just kind of work through that whole site. We got to create new parking and have to put in new fuel station area so that it can all work together. And then there'll be the other interior work modifications to the maintenance building itself. So this is working through design, and again, it's a project that we will be phasing. But that first phase, that bathroom facility building, should be ready to go out again this summer for bid. On page 77, there's a number of just project updates. And again, we've got these projects in all different phases. Pulaski, working through finishing up the parking lots out there and looking at the need for modular classrooms and how that can all work in. Garrison, we're putting a security vestibule in at Islands on that addition to the current athletic facility. We're ready to go out for bid. In fact, I think next week we're going to be advertising and putting that project out. Garden City, we're just finalizing the scope on that. Hope to have the architect contract ready for May for approval, and then a number of roofing projects that we're working through. The next slide has other project updates for HVAC work. When Woodville Tompkins, the design's pretty much complete, getting ready to bid that. Islands, we're going to be putting that out for bid here shortly, and then working through Savannah. And then the backup generator work in a number of schools is all completing. The next slide, again, project
Hold
updates on.
Mr. Moss.
So, for Pulaski, we're installing modular classrooms. Is that temporary?
Temporary. Yes,
How
sir.
expensive they are. Okay, all right.
And then, of course, again, looking at, we're site security, we want to be sure that all our campuses have the best security, so we've been working with campus police on getting those designs completed. Those projects are out on the street bidding right now. In Port Wentworth, a lot of work going on in that building. Campus police was there. They'll, of course, be moving over to the new field house. But there's a number of other departments that have to move in there, and so work continues getting ready for those. A couple of other ones that I don't have, I just want to quickly mention those. Savannah Arts, of course, replacement of that gym floor, the gym renovations. That contract was awarded last week, and so just as soon as we can get that contract signed up, and we want to get that work started right away, out there so we can have that new floor and gym ready to go for their volleyball season. And just a couple of small ones at Islands High School, because we talked about these before. Opening up that entryway to the auditorium so that they can get their musical instruments up on stage. That's been completed. And the netting for the multipurpose field is in progress right now.
Ms. Campbell?
So back on page 78, no, my numbers aren't lining up with yours, but the project updates, site security, perimeter fencing.
Yes.
Okay, so we have New Hampstead on there. Are we
Yes.
also working with the city of Savannah to make sure that we get walkways potentially for all of the new development that is growing up all around New Hampstead? Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's not part of this
Campus police,
project,
yes.
though. Okay,
But-
that will have to be something that's
Yes,
looked at.
and we've been doing that through our campus police department.
Love it, thank you.
Ms. Grabowski?
On the perimeter fencing, like for Jenkins, for example, so that's going to be fencing that goes around the entire parking lot?
Around the campus, the parking lot, correct. That's the goal, is to have fencing all around these campuses and have
But I hate that
gates
we are-
for entrance and exits.
I hate it.
I mean, I just, it presents beautifully to the community, and we spent all this money on this beautiful walkway to the sidewalk, this palm alley with this idea that it's connecting to the community, and now we're going to fence it all off. Like, I know that certain areas of the schools need to be fenced, and I get that, and security is always of the utmost importance. I just think that there's other ways to be able to strategically fence areas that really require it without just the blanket, we got to fence everything.
So this was a practice, my understanding, that was underway upon my arrival of fencing in campuses. But I'll need to revisit that with the team to see what, I'll have to revisit it with the team to see how we proceed.
And I may be one board member, but I just, these schools are part of our community, and we need to feel like part of the community, not like I just want to feel like a school, not prison.
Ms. Hall?
I support Mr. Grabowski's comments 100%. Dr. Hoskins Brown isn't here, but I know she spent a long time talking with the designers about that Atlantic Avenue effect. I cannot tell you how many people have marveled over that change to Durant Avenue because of our thing. It would be just deplorable for us to change that. I know we are real smart and can come up with security measures that would keep us from having to destroy that. And we don't have it at all of our high schools. Savannah Arts doesn't have a fencing. I hope they won't decide to do that in the back. Yeah, well, that's strategic, fine, in the back, but not, at the approach on that beautiful midway there. We don't want fencing there. So, guys, let's get ready to fight that, because that will destroy a lot of what we've put our effort in to get these beautiful campuses.
Raymond?
I'm lost as to where we went with why, because I can't think of a school that we have. I mean, we have schools. Here's the front facing of the school, fence that extends off of that. There may or may not be a parking lot in front of it, but what school do we have where we've encapsulated every bit of parking behind?
Our brand-new school on the Harris, I always get the letters
That
confused.
completely, the front parking is
Julia,
completely
Yes,
fenced?
and I raised concerns about it then.
Yes.
Because of how exclusive it is, especially for our students who are walking there, because we make them walk way out of their way to get to the front door.
I mean,
I
'cause-
lost that fight.
Which is why I brought
Go
up
and
the
look
thing
at
about the
Juliet
crosswalk.
Low. Look how terrible that fencing is there. That beautiful school, and it has that, and not even a nice plastic black, fencing.
Just chain
that
link.
horrible chain link all the way across it. It's terrible. And there's no reason for it. I know we're smart enough. We can come up with security measures that don't destroy the aesthetics.
All right, we
the
just
way we
saved
have
several
done.
$100,000.
Myers Middle School. I asked about Myers Middle School. Myers Middle School does not need that horrible fencing across it.
So I think you got multiple board members with questions. Okay. But, I mean, there are, not that I'm for fencing or not, but there are some issues that we're not thinking of that need to be talked through, but let's just re-examine it from a holistic standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall?
Dr. Watts, what he has just gone through is a lot of work. Are you satisfied that all of this is going to be accomplished, that we have the manpower and the expertise that come August 1st, all the things that need to be accomplished before our children come back? I just want to know, is she comfortable? Because I didn't, until we saw this is a lot of work here between now and this is April 15th. I'm just
It is, and we
asking,
have
do you need our
E5,
help in any
E5
way?
starts at the same. We are constantly, and more so in recent weeks, assessing our capacity as a team. So I don't have a strong answer to that, but I feel like we're working as hard as we can to manage all these processes, but there may be additional supports needed, and that would be forthcoming.
We're here to support you.
We got a hard hat for you later. Program schedule updates, Mr. Batra.
So we'll go to slide 80. Earlier, you asked me the projects which will not be completed in E4. So here is the list, and most of them have moved to E5, like Bartlett STEM renovation. Now we are going to be building a brand-new school. The CGCA renovation is already completed. It is moved to Isle of Hope. Garrison K renovation is with expanded scope. We'll be doing in East Plus 5. Maintenance and transportation facility, you just saw the sketch for it, and most of the work will be done in E5. Pooler Elementary School renovation is moved to E5. Schumann, we are not going to do anything because it's going to be closed. Southwest Elementary and Middle School is E5. West Chatham Elementary Middle School is going to be a new K8. Windsor Forest Elementary School, a new school, and Woodville Tompkins Low renovation moved to E5.
So this is picky, but I'm going to say it publicly. these are not projects that were not done in E4. They're projects that are being enhanced or modified. But all anyone is going to pick up on is the school district didn't follow through on what it said it was going to do because we put projects not completed. So let's rephrase that. None of them are not completed. They've been morphed or modified to address more current conditions. And then if we are really not doing something because we couldn't manage it well in E4, we can identify those separately. But yeah, let's just,
Great feedback.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll go to slide 82 on E5 project updates. So we will be starting West Chatham High School and K-8 and the athletic complex. We will be bidding out very soon, once in the next month probably. And currently we are doing the site study as well as risk hazard analysis of that site.
Mr. Brinkman?
Yeah, I was just, so we're checking to see if all that back acreage is just lost wetlands?
So we have already checked quite a bit, but we are doing a detailed analysis where exactly the high school can be placed and where the K-8 will be placed. You will be soon seeing it in more details in the upcoming CIC. Yes, we are going to put the schools there, that's for sure.
And separate entrances.
With separate entrances, and we are working with the city of Pooler to expand the road. I've had a couple of meetings with the city of Pooler too.
Lots of fencing.
No, I want to thank you for saving me from fencing. It's been a pain for me. Okay. So we will go to the schedule for current E4 projects and E5 projects. And I think you just received a new handout. In the thing, they told me that they could not put the schedule like this because it had to be ADA compliant. So that's why the Excel file in the thing is ADA compliant, but the real schedule was just handed out to you. So as you can see right now, I mean, the first few projects are the ones which are being currently done in E4. And I am quite confident, except for fences, we'll be able to finish by the start of the school. Okay. So if we go to, page 1 talks about the Windsor Forest High School, Pulaski to K-8, the one we are doing modular units, the HVAC projects. Page 2 talks about emergency generator installations, 4Me renovation, Bloomingdale, J.G. Smith and Montgomery Swing site. Page 3 talks about Island High School athletic complex expansion, Port Wentworth, where we are moving many departments. Page 5 talks about the Gould roof and campus fencing project and what we are doing at Garrison K-8 and Hubert Middle School renovation, which will be starting soon. Hubert is one of the ones we found that we have possible asbestos, so we will be doing this summer. Before we start the real renovation, we will be remediating the asbestos there. Okay? Then we have audio enhancement projects, which are ongoing from this year, rest of the year, and next year, and the BDA and cellular DAS projects. Then e-learning, we talked about that earlier. So the list goes on, and it is all E5 projects are on this schedule all the way to next 7 years.
At some point, are we going to get, I'm assuming in the next few months, a cash flow estimation and analysis too?
Yes, definitely.
Ms. Grabowski?
And this might be premature given Mr. Kachmar's question, but do we anticipate bonds to support work on this early, or do we know yet?
So I have done the analysis because E4 will be finishing somewhere around middle of May. So since it goes by quarter to quarter, we will be collecting funds till the end of June, and E5 will start on July 1. Since we have to design these projects, so I have a full year of collections, so I may not need to do a bond. I am quite comfortable right now to say that we will not need the bond.
Put it in stone. Any questions for Mr. Batra, Dr. Bringman?
Would we be able, and Dr. Watts kind of touched on this earlier, would we be able to have some of these projects come online earlier if we outsource some of the oversight of project management rather than trying to keep everything in-house and knowing that as we wait, costs will increase?
We are continuing to assess our capacity to determine what our next steps need to be.
Okay, tomorrow's a budget meeting, so it would definitely be another place where we could use some of our fund balance to maybe bring somebody on, and instead of waiting for 4 years to start a project, started in 2, knowing it will save us 10 or 15%. So, I mean,
Agreed.
I don't know those numbers, but that's just a thought that I think we should, thank you for, I think we should be doing that.
The trick is looking back at our history and learning from the past where we outsourced program management completely, had challenges because we felt like there wasn't significant owner representation and decisions being made outside of the scope of policy or district wishes. So then we brought it all in-house. So there's a balance there.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's learn from the past. But I mean,
Exactly.
if you pick, X number of the projects that are a certain type of project and say, let's have a project manager over top of all of these RFPs that are going to be to different
Yep.
companies, but it's a lot of the same scope, then it's less that our already stressed staff have to work with. So it's just just want to make sure thank you.
Ms. Hall?
Dr. Watts, in terms of finding room at other facilities for your staff, has that been accomplished, or are you still looking for space?
We are nearing completion. I think a better person to speak on that would be Ms. Megan Davidson. I have general knowledge, but I know as of recent as Friday, we were scoping facilities, and we have found, I think, most department spaces, but let me defer to her for details.
Well, let me ask, when do you feel physically you will be able to leave 208?
Yeah, so let me be 100% transparent. Even with leveraging all of the space that we have across the district, we still would not have enough space to accommodate every department. So there is a need to look at an additional facility. We have a robust plan in place. I shared it with the board maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago of what the schedule for moving out of 208 Bull Street is, which should be in the summer, but let me.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. So we are currently working on the negotiations of the license and then the lease of the Georgia Tech space. We anticipate that will be wrapped up and come before the board in May. The parties that are planned to move to the Georgia Tech space at this time is the finance team, Dr. Watts's team, my office, as well as some members of HR. And then we're going to maximize the Port Wentworth site for HR and our academic partners, Mr. Butler and Dr. Barnes's team. The Georgia Tech site happens to not be on the CAT line, and so it is challenging for some of our applicant pool to go to that site. And we're exploring maximizing all of our spaces. When we looked at our schools, what we also kept in mind is while there are some schools that have additional space in 1 or 2 classrooms, we don't want to disrupt the educational process. So if we were to have groups in there that engage regularly with the public, we don't want to put the safety and security of the students in place. So we continue to look at our school sites to keep those as maximized and efficient, but to the students and to the first perspective.
And we also have departments that are currently existing in schools, and when we do that, we have to do a lot of safety upgrades and divisions so that kids are not mixed with, administrative staff and people coming in and off the street. Hubert would be a great example of that, where we had to do some renovations to get that ready for a district office team to be in. And we're also juggling that with looking at pre-K, expanding pre-K programs and early childhood programs. So we are looking at every square foot available in the district and maximizing it in the best way we know how to juggle all the priorities.
The goal is to get the superintendent and the majority of the team members out this summer, and then academics would move over to Port Wentworth in September, trying to let them focus on finishing up what they need to start school successfully.
Okay. I know Dr. Hoskins Brown had asked, one of the questions she'd asked last week with the packet is whether or not other facilities had been, was this a bidding process with Georgia? Or how did we come about deciding that that would be the place, or that's the only place?
We have an extensive list of places that we looked at. We can get this information to you. It has to meet certain requirements, and in most situations, or the expense of it was considered. So when we looked at all the different places, I don't know how many places we visited.
Over 30 sites were visited. Some were very, very expensive. Some were not in the best interest of representation of the district to be in such spaces because of other retail sites that might not sell products that we want to promote. And then we also looked at our own site. So this site, the Whitney space, we looked at Thunderbolt, we looked at all of our sites and came back to the table with the proposal to utilize the Georgia Tech space and the Port Wentworth site.
It was not, it was a very deliberate, over a year worth of time and effort put into.
Well, that's good for us to know, so we can spread that.
Yes.
Questions are asked.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
Ms. Campbell?
Sorry, so are we going to talk about at the budget meeting tomorrow, Bull Street, like the plan, how many people are staying, how many are going?
That was not, I didn't expect to have that in a budget presentation.
Well, just because of the amounts that were given. And when we talk about, I see the end dates for like Savannah High, and do we know yet the breakdown of people staying versus people moving? And
We have all that.
that,
yes.
okay.
If you will, the superintendent update, not this one that I sent out on Sunday, but the one prior to this one, there is a PowerPoint. We have done town halls with everyone in 208 Bull Street. They know their move-in dates and times. The processes and procedures have been laid out and are currently being adhered to. But we do have a breakdown of where everyone's going, when they're going, et cetera, et cetera. But it is not included in the budget presentation tomorrow, so but I want to remind the board that we did include $60 million in fund balance to help support some of this transition. And that happened in December, I believe, in the December board meeting as a part of our East Bluffs referendum. So it's not new money that we would be asking for as a part of our 25-26 budget. It was included in our East Bluffs ask, if that makes sense. But if there are specific questions that are budget specific, we can definitely get you answers on those.
Absolutely.
All right, it is 3:29. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Our next meeting is Tuesday, May 13th. And the PowerPoint slides from this meeting will be on our website in the near future. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.